Basil Scarsella, Chief Executive of UK Power Networks and responsible for keeping the lights on, I suppose. There's a big move right now towards urbanisation in London, communities growing across the whole of the UK. How do the UK's power networks have to evolve and adapt to meet that new demand?
If you listen to the experts, they talk about the population growth in London. Clearly that's going to be extensive over the next 10 years and 20 and 30 years. But we all know that reliance on electricity is paramount. And therefore at UK Power Networks we focus on making sure that we understand where the population growth is going to happen, where major developments are going to happen, and make sure that the infrastructure, the electricity infrastructure, is there to be able to reliably deliver electricity to either major development or growth in population.
Okay. Do you see a future where we'll be increasingly reliant on perhaps less centralised power?
There's no question that's happening as we speak. We see traditionally electricity generation has been in very specific centres around the UK, but now we see, especially in the east of England and the southern, as the southeast part of England, where there's growth in solar generation, wind generation, and therefore there's significantly more generating points today than there've ever been, and that's going to continue to grow. Eventually, I could see even domestic consumers having their own generators.
Right. So there will be an increase in renewable energy sources that is coming.
Absolutely. We've got binding targets, the laws that the government has passed in terms of low carbon reduction, and we need to make sure we meet those targets, and one way of meeting those targets is obviously the electrification of transport. But electrification of transport means increased demand in electricity. So from a UK Power Networks, we must make sure that infrastructure is there when it's needed. A
huge demand as well. You were talking about something like a doubling of electricity demand in London by 2050.
Again, in order to achieve the low carbon reduction targets, that's what needs to happen. The demand for electricity will double, but we need to make sure that the infrastructure doesn't double. We need to use the infrastructure better, which means less disruption and lower cost.
Right. So, I mean, would you say that right now, the way we're thinking and where we are in that investment in infrastructure, we have a problem brewing?
No, I mean, no, I don't think we have a problem. I think London electricity, indeed UK electricity supply, is very reliable, and generation is very reliable. What we must do is continue to plan, understand what the future is going to look like, and plan. And if we plan it well in advance, I don't expect we're going to have a problem.
Okay, and presumably a lot of that planning will be around managing demand as well, so smart meters.
Yeah, it's managing demand, and the rollout of smart meters over the next 5 or 6 years will actually, for the first time, give especially domestic consumers control on the energy use.
Okay, a future of electric vehicles is going to be hugely challenging, not only in charging points, but also in feeding that demand. I mean, do we need to start planning for that now?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as I said, the electrification of transport to a very large degree means the move to electric vehicles. And what we're doing a research and development project through the project referred to as Low Carbon London, where we're testing the various domestic consumer behaviours in the case of electric vehicles, and making sure that we don't spend too much money in advance, but we are ready to respond when the rollout or the usage of electric vehicles becomes more prominent.
I mean, a huge scale of ambition that we need to have, but I suppose the critical question is, who's going to pay for all this?
Well, as I said, I mean, if we need to manage it right to make sure that the assets, the cables, etc., that are already on the ground are better utilised, because that will reduce the cost for all of us. So ultimately, we as consumers will need to pay for it. But our job at UK Power Networks is to make sure that the infrastructure that we put in the ground is utilised to its maximum, which means we will reduce the costs.
Basil, Scarsella, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks.